Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be discussing and talking all about rugby trials, whether it's for an academy or for your county. And this is going to span and be relevant to all those between the ages of like under 13s all the way up to like under 18s, under 20s, going into even senior academy rugby. So I think it's really important firstly to just understand and have the right mindset going into a process like this. You got to remember that it's very, very simple and very much relatable to be anxious and nervous about something like this because, you want to perform well, you want to do well for yourself, you want to do well for potentially your family members, whoever's supporting you and in your corner. That's very understandable. But in order to do that, you need to have the confidence. You need to remember that you're in that position of being able to attend this trial because you've got the skills to do so. And someone, whether it's a coach from your club or, the captain of your team, whoever it is who's nominated you, or the reason behind you being given the invitation to attend a trial is because you've got the skills and someone's seen it and recognized it. So when you show up on the day, you really want to just make sure you're oozing with confidence, be yourself, and ultimately you want to show these coaches and selectors what you're about and what you can actually do. The next thing I want to talk about is your preparation going into a trial. I think it's very important that you're nailing down the basics of your game. And this revolves around some different elements. The first one is going to be your fitness. Your fitness is very important because if you're not fit, you're going to stand out from the rest of the players in the trial like a sore thumb. So I think it doesn't even take a lot of work necessarily, just a bit of a constant block of training where, you're going away and doing some extras, whether that's shuttle runs, broken broncos, or just some general long distance running. Whatever it is that you feel works for you, I'd say do that. And ultimately just try and stack it up and over time build up the intensity. And with that, you're going to see an improvement in your cardiovascular endurance and also your performance on the pitch because you're going to be able to go harder for longer in that sense. And I think as well, in terms of your basics, understanding obviously your position, you're going to have certain roles. Like me, I'm a prop, so things for me that are really important are my scrimmaging, my set piece, my mauls, my rucks, and my tackling. And these skills are something that I've tried to really, hone in and emphasize when it comes to like a trial, because you want to, sell yourself in a way to these coaches. So really understand what it is as your role on the field, understand what you're meant to be doing. Whether you're a second row, lineouts are going to be crucial for you. If you're a flanker, practicing your rucking, your jackling, for example. In the backs, you're a kicker. If you're a fly off, working your kicks. If you're a winger, working your footwork, your speed, work under the high ball as well for those back three. And yeah, just really focusing on your skills, understand what it is you need to be nailing to the T. And yeah, with practice comes better execution on the field. That's all I can say about that. And then I also want to talk about the externals as well. Your sleep is very important. I think a lot of young players as well, they overlook sleep so much. As a young player, I don't care whether you're 13 or you're 25, you need to be getting in at least 7 to 8 hours of sleep a day, minimum. And if you're able to nail this down and be consistent with it, you're going to feel so much better going into these sessions, preparing yourself for a trial. But just general as well, like in season, out of season, your sleep is so important. And then I'm going to talk about nutrition as well. You need to make sure you're eating the right foods. I'd say for most young players, try and eat as whole foods as you can. There's going to be periods or times where, you can't avoid it. You're going to be eating processed food or junk food, whatever it is. But for the most part, I'd say you want to be aiming for at least, 75% of what you're eating should be whole foods. If you can, try and prepare it yourself or, try and just make sure you know what's kind of going into you, because you see a lot of players, they'll kind of put a lot of effort and time into their training, but then off the pitch, they kind of neglect the extras, and it's kind of just stopping them from realising their full potential on the pitch. So yeah, try and prioritise your nutrition and your recovery. And then I get a lot of questions as well, like on TikTok, people asking about like the training program you should be doing in the gym and stuff. To be honest, I feel like you don't need to make it so difficult for yourself. If you go on YouTube, there's so many videos of how you can do a training split in the gym, out of the gym, and just really utilize, those hours when you're not actually training on the rugby pitch. I'd say just try and build a solid foundation, especially to the younger players. Just do bodyweight exercises. if you want to do press-ups, pull-ups, bodyweight squats, lunges, things like that are going to build a really good core foundation for when, you're getting older and you start hitting the gym and, you can actually start moving some weight. But I think it's really important, as I said already, prioritize your sleep, prioritize your nutrition, and you will be in a very good position when it comes to the trial day. And then the last thing I want to talk about really is kind of what you're going to do on the trial day. So from my experience, you're going to have like an email saying where to go, what to do, what time to show up. Show up on time. Don't be late, because even if you show up late and the session hasn't started yet, it's not a good look. It's not a good look for you, and it's not a good look for the other players who are going to be viewing you. It just kind of shows like you're not serious. You don't want it as much as these other players. So make sure you're on time. That's very important. And then the next thing as well is that normally they'll probably make you go into a changing room with the rest of your teammates or trialists, whatever you want to call them, the other players at the trial. And in this time, I've noticed that some players keep to themselves a lot. You're probably all from like a similar area of the country, probably same age group as well. So you may know some people already from, previous games, like your clubs or your schools. But I think it's important to, try and talk. If you're a talkative person, I'd really encourage talking, because it makes you feel comfortable and relaxed. And, chatting to other people as well, it kind of makes you feel confident. And I think that's a really good thing to do, because obviously when you're on the field as well, you got to be a good communicator. It's all interlinked in that sense. So, do what you got to do. But if you're someone who's a bit more quiet and reserved, that's fine. But just make sure you're in the right headspace of, right, you've got a job to do in that trial to show off what you can do. So just make sure you're in the right mindset and you're ready to perform. And then I think in terms of actually during the trial, obviously every trial is going to be unique. The coaches might have certain things that they want to see from the players and analyze them in different ways. So I can't really say what to expect to a T, but I'll give you a rough idea. You're generally going to start off with a warm-up exercise. It could be like team building in the sense of trying to see who's like a natural kind of leader, who's good at communicating and who's not. Or it may just be a simple light endurance kind of fitness test. Like it could be either or. So whether it is a fitness kind of thing, you want to make sure that you're obviously fit so you can do well in that and not, stand out for the wrong reasons by being too slow or fatigued early on. And then if it's something that's more of a team building exercise, be confident, be vocal, be an individual character within that trial, because the coach is going to recognize that from the get-go, and you're going to be already putting a good impression out there for yourself. And then typically you kind of do a split from what I would say is the backs will go with the backs, the forwards will go with the forwards with their respective coaches and work on certain things. Me as a forward, I'd say it's very important just to understand what's going on, stay alert, and, try and communicate well with other players as well. If you're trying to, be creative and unique with, like, for example, a line-out call, make sure that's addressed throughout all the players so you can actually execute and showcase what you're about. But also just make sure you're nailing the basics down to a T. If you're lifting, if you're jumping, just make sure you're doing what you do best. Don't overthink it either, because, the moment you overthink, you're just putting unnecessary pressure on yourself, and you don't need to do that. And then I think the biggest thing for me is just to be a loud voice. The louder voice you are, the more you're going to stand out, not only to the coaches and selectors, but also to the other players. And from my experience, it just makes you a more confident player on the pitch. Even if you're having a bad, even if it's not going the way you want to, I think if you're able to communicate well and show that you've got the passion, you've got the intent, you've got the rugby IQ, the coaches will still recognise that. And then typically most kind of trials are finished off with like a game scenario or even like an actual match. So for that, like I said before, it's just recognising your role within that. Make sure, you're executing the basics well, what the coaches would expect of someone playing your position. Do those skills to the best of your ability, and I guarantee you're not going to be going far wrong from getting selected and being successful with your trials. So I hope this video has helped. I mean, it is quite vague and quite a niche kind of topic, but for those who definitely need the help, I've had loads of people on TikTok messaging me in the DMs. They're like, oh, I've got this trial happening then and I need advice. What advice could you give me? I played this position. And I hope this has given a general overall kind of view on how to approach a rugby trial. And if you want to see anything more particular, let me know. You can message me or you can drop a comment, whatever works well for you. But I hope this has helped, and I look forward to seeing you guys in the next video. Thank you very much.